What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building and at work, doing my thing. Just want to do a quick video since I wasn't able to be on the final word last night. Shout out to my guys, killing it. Law, OC, J Tuck, Ball. Shout out to you guys. We just had some technical difficulties. Be back on there next week. Now, I didn't watch the show because I knew I was going to have my views, and one thing I don't do is I don't like taking other people's views or listening and think I regurgitate the same thing. So I didn't hear anything they said, not intentionally, but I just don't want to take people's views or make me think that I'm taking some for anybody. So I didn't really see anything. So this is just straight off the top of my head, and it's just my advanced thoughts about the Trey Lance deal. Um, we should feel good about this. And I'm going to say it. We should feel really good about this deal all the way around for the simple fact that it's the organization's responsibility to keep your team competitive. That's the responsibility of your organization. Now, if we look at the team the way it's currently structured, when we saw Romo, we saw he had about a 6 or 7 year span where nobody was really challenging him. Cowboys didn't want to get anybody to challenge him. But you always got to have the spirit of competition toward the later years. That's when they said, hey, we need to go get a future quarterback because injuries are happening with Romo. Maybe we're still stagnant, but we got to prepare for the future because he's not going to be able to play forever and injuries. Now, I'm not saying that with Dak, but he has been injured the last few years. When we look at the backup quarterback situation, it's not great. Let's look at Cooper Rush. We were happy he won those games last year, right? But let's be honest, none of us thought Cooper Rush were going to win those games, and it wasn't really Cooper Rush. It was more so the defense, the running game, and real good coaching. And there was no turnovers by Cooper Rush during that period of time. When he did turn the ball over, we lost. Um, so Cooper Rush is not the ideal guy. He is really from the Garrett regime. They loved him more than anybody else. When you look at when Mike McCarthy came in, he got a Ben DiNucci, right? Athletic. Uh, Garrett Gilbert, more athletic than Cooper Rush, can move around in the pocket. Two athletic type quarterbacks that can move around the pocket and somebody that can kind of complement Dak. Because honestly, when Dak was quarterback here a few years ago, they were talking about get Colin Kaepernick and maybe Tyrod Taylor, getting an athletic quarterback that matches that. If Dak goes down, you have a quarterback to kind of match his skill set, and you can keep on pushing. And that's what I feel like they've been looking for. I feel like the McCarthy regime not necessarily doesn't believe in Cooper Rush, but they're looking to always replace him with the quarterback that they want. So that's why you saw DiNucci. That's why you saw Garrett Gilbert. That's why you saw Will Greer. All of them can scramble and move in the pocket. That's the type of quarterback I feel like he wants. So even though they didn't talk to Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott, they still got the same type of quarterback that Mike McCarthy can work with because he likes, to me, those type of quarterbacks that can move in the pocket, functional, good arm strength, can athletic, can run when necessary. And this is what Trey Lance is, because to me, they've always been looking to replace Cooper Rush at the backup quarterback. Mike McCarthy has, and he just hasn't had the backup. Will Greer was the closest one that showed he could take his job, and we saw the last game. Honestly, I think you should have went with Will Greer and Trey Lance because Will Greer just has more upside than a Cooper Rush, and he could probably win those games. I just said that his only problem was that he did goofy things at the most inopportune times. But as far as talent-wise, he's better than Cooper Rush. You feel me? More moxie, more better, but it is what it is. But as far as the Trey Lance thing, I'm just going to say this. When you looked at it in history of quarterbacks, Brett Favre, they got Aaron Rodgers. Joe Montana, they got Steve Young. Drew Brees, they got Phillip Rivers. I mean, time and time again, quarterbacks we've seen. When the Giants got Kurt Warner, they drafted Eli Manning. You know what I'm saying? So when Peyton Manning, even though he was hurt, he wanted to come back. They drafted Andrew Young. So this isn't something that's new that we haven't seen before, right? We've seen quarterbacks who've been entrenched and they still draft another quarterback. And Cowboys have been drafting quarterbacks the last few years, regardless in the draft. So, and they were talking about looking at Hendon Hooker, right? Hendon Hooker was the guy that could have been a guy that you could have picked up. So if you look at the history of fourth round draft picks, and we talked about it, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Jake Ferguson, obviously Dak Prescott, Anthony Hitchens, Damian Wilson. There's been a ton of fourth round, so they value that fourth round pick. So that's why when they got a Trey Lance, who they had a second round grade on him, and you don't have to go back into the draft to draft a top quarterback and spend a top pick. Now you have somebody who can sit back and develop and learn the game. And what better person to learn from than Dak Prescott? We already heard great things about Trey Lance. Already a good kid, a good pro, just didn't work out. Now you got a consummate pro in Dak Prescott who can teach you the game, right? And Dak Prescott is not going to be the hater. And they already had conversations prior to the draft. We saw in that video, right? So this is a win-win. Now I am going to be looking at this contract to see what happens because Todd France and the Joneses don't like each other. So I'm really going to be looking at this new contract extension because they said it's in the works right now. They're working on it right now. That's what I'm going to look at to see, are the Joneses going to have this hip pocket with Trey Lance, because I feel like they're not going to use it against him, but they're going to use it against him. Now they feel like if it don't absolutely work out with this thing with Dak Prescott, if we don't win, now we have something for the future. That's a responsible organization. Dak is 30 years old now, not old by any means by quarterback, but as an organization, you're doing the right thing. And I feel like, especially if you do this extension with Dak, now you have something for future. Why wouldn't you do that? Now your franchise is in good hands. So if Dak eventually moves on, which he eventually will, now you possibly have somebody to take his place and learn the game. And you got a Mike McCarthy. You got somebody who can teach him. You got a Dak Prescott where you can just sit and learn, and there's no pressure on him now like it was in San Francisco. And when I hear this stuff about, oh, he couldn't beat out Sam Darnold and this stuff like that, I don't know about all that. But I will say this. The Niners, when they got Brock Purdy, they got to win. They've been going to the playoffs. They went to a championship game. They went to the Super Bowl, but they haven't won anything. So there's a lot of pressure on them. So a Sam Darnold who's been around, and I don't think Sam Darnold is as bad as a lot of people say. So when you're talking about we got to win now, and we still don't want to wait on Trey Lance because we don't know, it makes most sense for them to go with Darnold, not because he outplayed them, because we got to win now. And we can't trust a guy who's been in the league a couple years and we haven't seen it, and we just got another young player. We got to go with a veteran, and that's why I feel like they did it like this. So at the end of the day, this is a good thing all the way around for the Cowboys. You have a possible future quarterback. You got a guy who can sit back and learn. You have a quarterback that can teach him. You have a coach that will help him grow. So this is a great thing for the Dallas Cowboys at the end of the day, for everyone. And is there pressure on Dak? I said there was pressure, wouldn't be until next year, but I don't feel like it's the pressure that it's natural pressure, because now you have a kid who's not ready but could be ready. So it's a natural pressure for you to constantly perform, consistently perform, because now you possibly have something in the hip pocket from the organization, and they're probably going to think, now we just have something in our hip pocket. We're not using this piece, but now we possibly have something in the hip pocket. And if things go wrong and don't go right, now we have something in our hip pocket just in case. And for organization, that's what they're going to do. And for Dak Prescott, he's going to do his thing as far as taking care of himself as far as the future. So we'll see what happens these next couple of years, because Lance is probably not going to take the field for the next few years. And we'll see what happens after that. So I don't think it was nothing bad. I didn't initially say it was bad. I just feel like this is the best thing for everybody all the way around in this organization. And this is what we should like. Cowboys are aggressive. They just traded Kelvin Joseph for Noah. I didn't even say the name, but that's another trade on trade. That's like 5 trades within a year, and we haven't seen that from the Cowboys. So I love the aggressiveness. I love that we feel like it's all in, and I love how they're kind of moving away of hoarding the picks and holding on to the picks. Now we see when you make moves with picks how it betters your team. And that's what I like. And that's what I like seeing from the boys. So I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at what they did. And I'm not mad at what they're doing. And I hope they can keep it up. And we'll see what happens later on. Tune in for Burgers and Blitzes tonight. Our advanced 53-man current rosters going down at 6:30, 7:30 tonight Eastern time. Make sure you check it out. It's going to be a banger. Peace. Big Game James, I'm out.